Yo, what's going on, my friends? Simchaw Fitness here. You read the title, you know what's up. So a lot of times I get people coming over to me, right? They're coming over to me, they're asking me questions, or they're complaining. A lot of times they're complaining, right? And they'll tell me something like, you know, yeah, I go ahead and I work my butt off, but I can't seem to gain any weight, right? I just can't seem to get any weight. I'm 150 pounds, I'm 160 pounds. No matter how hard I try, I will not gain any weight, right? Now, for those of you unaware, right, if there's anybody who knows how to gain weight, it's me, right? Because I started out this game, when I started out, I was 18 years old. I was 110 pounds. Wrap your mind around that. 5'7" man, right? 110 pounds, maybe 115 pounds. I was in the featherweight. I was so damn light that they used to pin me up in my wrestling. When I was in 11th grade in wrestling, they used to pin me up against guys from 8th grade because I was so damn undersized. So if there's anybody, now I'm 200 pounds. I was 115 pounds. Let that just sink into yourself for just a second. For just a second. If there's anybody who knows how to gain weight, who knows how to put on quality mass, it's me, right? Right? Just let your mind wrap that around for just a second, right? So this is why I tell these people. First, I tell them I feel your pain, because I know what it's like to be small. I know what it's like to be the smallest guy in the room, right? I know what it's like to be that very, very well. I'm very familiar with it. Heck, if you look at the top of my channel, you can see how small I was, and that's after 4 years of lifting. I have a comparison at the top. That's my my background, right? You can see, what does it say? It says, those never fail to realize that small progress is progress. And that's a lot of the one of the major themes for this channel. Small progress is progress. Don't ever forget that. And in it, you'll see that I've been lifting for 4 years in the first picture, and I look small as a twig, right? I look small as hell. So you can just imagine how small I was in my first year of lifting. You understand? So that was after 4 solid years of lifting. So my first year of lifting, I was mad small. The case in point is that if you want to gain size, you want to gain weight, right? Right? You have to do a couple things. First, I'm going to ask you, do you eat a lot? Most of the time, the answers I get are, nah, not that much. I actually don't eat that much. I could eat better. My diet could be better. Best I can tell you is you got to get on the protein train, my friend. You have got to get protein, and you've got to get a good source of complex carbs, right? Which means there's a small sugar to carb ratio. Meaning you look at the label, if it has carbs and low sugar, you want to eat that. You want to eat a lot of it, right? If you want to gain weight, one of the ways I gained a lot of weight was I ate a lot of brown rice, right? You want to eat a lot of brown rice, you want to eat a lot of potatoes, right? You just eat and eat and eat and eat. And don't be afraid to get fat, because as soon as you start getting fat, that's when you start gaining muscle. People say dirty bulking doesn't work. Don't tell me dirty bulking doesn't work. I'm living proof that dirty bulking works. I'm in a dirty bulk right now. I'm 200 pounds, right? And I'm like 17% body fat. I ain't that fat, right? I ain't even that fat. By the way, I'm going on a diet, right? I hope you all know. But the point is, if you're not on the food, if you're not doing your homework on getting enough food in your diet, right, especially, like I said, enough complex carbs, you might as well just kick this whole weightlifting thing out the door, because you're never going to be big. You're never going to be big unless you eat big. You got to eat big to get big. That's the problem. I mean, I hate to steal Chris Jones's lines, but you know what I think about him, right? The guy knows what he's talking about, right? If you want, you got to eat big to get big. That's the thing. If you're not eating, you're not going to win. I don't care how much compound movements you're doing. If you're not eating big, you're not going to get to where you want to get to. And that makes sense, right? Eat big to get big. Duh. Well, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for some people, apparently, because they don't do it. Get on the eating thing. I don't care if you get fat. If you get fat, guess what? When you go on a diet, you learn to diet, you trim down the fat, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be left with more muscle than you were before. right? That's the one thing. Another thing that I see skinny people telling me all the time is they say they're trying. Baloney. You're not trying. You're not putting in the intensity in the compound movements. If you're not putting in the intensity for the compound movements, how do you expect to get big? You're never going to get big, especially if you're a small guy naturally. Naturally, you're never going to get big if you're a small guy naturally. You're never going to get big. Okay, now if you're a small guy, let's say you're a bigger guy, like, you know, back in the day, you used to be like a bigger guy, like on the playground or something, right? Then okay, I can see you're gonna get sorry about that, I'm just making sure my battery isn't running out. If you're a bigger kid on the playground, you're not gonna have a problem getting big because you've always been big. But for all the regular average people out there, average Joes like you, and definitely like me, we ain't gonna get big by just lifting heavy. It don't work like that. Let me ask you a question. There's slave labor going on right now in Africa, right? And all over the world, especially in the Middle East, right? So how come those slaves aren't yoked up? The reason why they're not huge, they're doing weights all day long. They're lifting heavy stuff. They're doing compound movements all day, lifting stones and blocks and stuff. How come they're not huge? The reason is because their diet isn't online. Because if it suggests that you can get huge and swole just by picking stuff up and putting it down, then these slaves and these servants, the people in the Middle East who are enslaved, right? They'd be freaking huge. But they're not, right? They're tiny, they're small, they're famished, they're weak. And it's because they're not getting the right amount of nutrients in their diet. That's another thing. If you don't do the compound movements, you can never expect to extend the levels of becoming big. Don't even think about getting big if you're not putting in intense compound movements. I don't want to see you just okay, I'm good. No, you grind through that. You tell the weights what to do. You tell the damn weights what to do. You don't sit there and ask it kind of, you get in that, and you dig deep, find your balls, squeeze tight. Go ahead and lift that weight like you mean it. Like you're on a field. You gotta make pretend like you're on the field, like you got a mission, man. You got a mission, you're gonna accomplish this. You ever wonder why anybody who's really into this stuff is always so intense? It takes an intense person to get big, and takes an intense person to get swole, you understand? You ain't gonna just lift, you gotta get under that weight like you mean it, like you want it, right? You can't just ask it to do it. You can't just think about it. You gotta get in there like you wanna get in there. And then once that happens, you'll go ahead and you will make some gains. I guarantee you, you get the eating, you get the compound movements, you put that all together, and you will get somewhere, I assure you. Alright, and when all that's done, call me up, give me a comment, tell me that you're not swole. Tell me that you're not swole. Get your protein on check. Get your carbs on check. Get your training on check. And tell me that you ain't swole yet. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen.